Okay. I was asked about shaping a Hackamore and how to shape a Hackamore, and probably need to talk about why to shape a Hackamore too. I don't have a Hackamore that's completely unshaped. If anybody wants to send me a brand spanking new Hackamore, I would be more than happy to show how to do one that's completely unshaped, but I'll keep it. But anyway, I don't have one that's never been shaped. But this one right here, I got this from Martin Black about 16 or 18 years ago, and I never really used it much. Not that it's not a good Hackamore, it's a really good Hackamore. It didn't really fit me that good. So it's been a long time since it's been shaped. It's just been hanging around. And there's something to say there. If a Hackamore doesn't feel right to you, that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, or that your horse is no good, or that the Hackamore is no good. Some Hackamores just don't fit your hands or your style. Like I said, this is a good one, but it just doesn't really fit me very good. But anyway, it hasn't been shaped in a long time. It was pre-shaped. Most Hackamores anymore that you get from most makers, they come pre-shaped. I think there's a lot of the Chinese made ones that you buy at the feed store or whatever that don't have any shape to them. And if that's what you're using, then that's what you're using. But most of these come pre-shaped to some extent, and that's pretty much the pre-shape. But they need shaped more than that. The reason being is that there shouldn't be any space between the horse and the Hackamore when you're riding. It should fit just like a really good hat fits. There shouldn't be pinching anywhere, but there also shouldn't be any depth between your head and your hat for it to rattle around. Well, the same with the Hackamore. So a Hackamore should fit like a good hat fits. It shouldn't pinch anywhere, but there shouldn't be any depth between your head and your hat. The same with the Hackamore. It shouldn't pinch anywhere on the horse's face, but there shouldn't be any space between the horse and the Hackamore for it to be rattling around and sending mixed signals. So that's why we shape them. So the first thing I'm going to show you here, this is a Hackamore block that I made, and you see it's imperfect. Oh, got it too high. You see it's imperfect there. What I did here, I took pipe cleaner, and I took the horse that I wanted to shape a Hackamore to, and it says peach on there. This block went to peach. I don't remember which horse that was. But I took pipe cleaners and went where I wanted to put the Hackamore, which is relatively halfway between the bottom of the horse's eye and the top of the horse's nostril. And I put those pipe cleaners around there, and I got a shape of that horse's face. And then I laid it down and drew it out on a board, and then cut it out to fit. And then once you have this block, then you put your Hackamore in it. You take your hanger and you wrap it around. And of course then you tie that off, but then you just leave it around that block. And that rawhide remembers the shape. It's got a lot of memory, that rawhide does, and it doesn't hurt to wet these down a little bit beforehand. But then you just leave it on this block, and whenever you're not riding it, it learns, that Hackamore starts to learn that shape. And if you think about it, that's really more the shape of a horse's muzzle anywhere. It's a lot more square than it is round. And that way we can shape the Hackamore to fit the horse's face. So that's a way a guy can do it for an individual horse. And see that Hackamore already remembered that shape a little bit. It's already starting to come out. But a guy can build a generic one of these that's just the general shape of a horse's face, and put these Hackamores on it when they're not in use, or when you want to shape them up, or you can build it for an individual horse. Another way to do it, I use this a lot. This is the hub off of a wagon wheel that I found somewhere. And you can take and you can shape that nose band around there, or you can shape it here on this part of it. And I use this a lot, especially a Hackamore. I'll just leave my McCarty on there and leave it tied, and I'll just take and stick this hub in here and tie that off, and just leave it hanging on the wall there, and leave it like that a couple of days. And when you take it out, it'll be bulgy here like it shows. But after using it for about 10 minutes, it'll kind of find the shape of a horse's face, and it'll stay that shape. In truth, the nose button here, you don't really have to do much shaping to. It kind of shapes itself, but it's the bars here that you do more shaping. In case you don't have the hub of a wagon wheel, there's a lot of other stuff you can use. This is just a standard run-of-the-mill Stanley thermos. Everybody's grandpa's got one. It works just as good. You can take and tie that in there like that, and you can get a lot of shape out of your Hackamore. If you want something wider, you can put something wider in there. If you want something narrower, you can put something narrow in there. About any old thing will work. Don't put that like that. The point is that you've got to go for that more square kind of a shape like that. Then the rounder, when they lose their memory, they kind of get a round shape like that. And that's not what we want, because that's just going to rattle around on a horse's face. We want a more square shape. And see how good this rawhide has such good memory that I can kind of just shape it with my hands and it'll stay for a minute. And so that's what we do if we put it on a block or put something in there to shape it. If you leave it long enough, then it'll hold that shape a long time, and your horse can ride around a lot better in it. I suspect there's some people out there that haven't worked with rawhide a bunch, and if you give $400 or $500 for a rawhide Hackamore, and you know, that's a lot of money, you're worried about it, and you see I'm moving it around like this and doing all this with it. You're worried about hurting it. You can't hurt these things. The only thing that can hurt these is too much moisture and dogs. That's about it. It's just an old dead cow. This is an old dead cow and an old dead kangaroo. So there's nothing to hurt. You can shape them around, you can bend them around, and they'll find a memory of where you want them to be, and they'll stay. I know some older guys that'll take a new Hackamore and they'll put it in a pot of boiling water for about a minute, and then they shape it, and then they really, really hold a memory from there. I've done it a few times. It's kind of unnecessary as far as I'm concerned, because just throwing this hub in one every once in a while is enough to keep its shape, and it'll honor that. Another thing I like to do when I throw a hub or a block or whatever it is I throw on there to shape it, I take that as an opportunity to go ahead and rub some Hackamore, some rawhide cream on there, and grease it up a little bit. That's the only other thing that can hurt rawhide is olive oil. Do not ever put olive oil on rawhide. But you can put tallow or a lot of other stuff on them. But any of these Hackamore creams that these guys are selling on the internet work. Anyway, that's kind of all I have to say about that. That's shaping the Hackamore. You want to go for this. You want to go for this square, more square shape like that. And really, I think the best way is like I said, to take a bunch of pipe cleaner and you twist them together to get the length, and just trace out the shape of your horse's face, and then put it on a board, draw it out, cut it out. That's just 2x4 is all that is. And then you can wrap that around there, and that Hackamore will learn that shape and then be shaped to your horse's face. And safety tip of the day is, that's a terrible safety tip. Let me think of a better safety tip. All right, we did the little Hackamore video, shaping the Hackamore and the block and everything. And we did that video 3 or 4 days ago. And then I just went ahead and tied this one in the block and put it up on top of the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days, or 5 maybe. And I've got it pretty tight. And there you go. The rawhide memorizes that shape, and will stay that way a long time. If you don't use this Hackamore and hang it up for a long time like I did with this one, it'll come out of shape again. But that's really a lot closer to the shape of a horse's muzzle. And then when you tie your wraps in down here, it'll widen it some. And that's really more the way you want your Hackamore shaped. It's almost an oval, almost square. But that's the finishing touches on these Hackamore blocks and how they work, and that's what you're going to want your Hackamore to look like when you're all said and done. The only thing I have to add to that was something I read today. Somebody was giving Socrates a hard time about the scanty preparations he was making for having a bunch of dinner guests over, and Socrates' reply was, well, if they're really my friends, they won't care about all those preparations, and if they're not my friends, I don't care about them.